Franzi, and this is podcast episode number 1036. Get a hold of these numbers, ladies and gentlemen, with over $13.3 billion in multifamily and commercial value-added transactions, 528 multifamily community transactions, 144,266 units. Bascom Group protects capital while exceeding customers' expectations. Co-founder and managing partner Jerome Fink shares how Bascom operates for long-term continuity by focusing on, are you ready for this? Integrity. Jerry, welcome to Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast.
Thank you, Rick.
It's good to have you on the program.
Well, thank you again.
All right, let's start simply. Can you think of an interesting story, audience or business owners and CEOs across the country, that might give them a little more insight into you as an entrepreneur and business person?
Sure.
Okay.
Many years ago, we were looking at a property in West Covina, and it was owned by an elderly gentleman, so it had a lot of deferred maintenance, was run down, and we were touring a pension fund equity investor through the property. And we had gone through a long tour, and we were talking about how we were going to re-tent the building, evict gang members, and do all these things. And the pension fund equity investor looked at me and said, Jerry, I don't want to evict any gang members. I just want to put crown molding in the living room.
No.
And so we quickly learned that there's certain types of reposition properties or candidates that are right for the right kind of investor, and other investors want kind of higher quality assets. And so over the years, we've really developed a variety of capital buckets to suit each particular investor's kind of needs and risk levels, and we've learned that over the years.
So let's demystify the firm a little bit. I talked about some of these impressive numbers in the open, but I say you protect capital while exceeding clients' expectations. What is it, Jerry, specifically that your firm does?
Sure. We acquire multifamily, value-add, and distressed properties, and we look to bring in better management, add capital for renovations, and typically reduce expenses and raise rents. And our goal is to really plan for a 3 to 5 year holding period. And so the goal is buy it, fix it, and hopefully sell for a profit in that 5-year hold period. So our goal is really to get the best buy it acquisition, and we do that through looking for off-market opportunities, distressed sales, and second is bringing a great team of operational people in to do a great job of improving the operations, putting in new carpeting, new paint, appliances, bringing in better on-site people, doing a better job marketing, and then ultimately the goal is to sell for a profit again in 3 to 5 years and deliver returns to your investors that are better than what they can get in other alternative product types. And our goal is to do that with as little as risk as possible, and you do that by doing as much due diligence up front and really putting a lot of thought and time into your underwriting so that you can hopefully exceed your expectations.
So thank you for that. That was easier to understand, and I appreciate that. Thank you. Our audience are business owners and CEOs and running companies across the country. How long have you been doing this, Jerry?
We've been doing it 20 years for Bascom Group.
Okay. And in those 20 years, has the business changed in any way?
It's changed in that the internet is, again, much more prevalent. Back in the mid to late 90s, the internet was fairly new, and so an owner didn't have a lot of information. So if you want to do a rent study, for example, and figure out, am I charging the right rent for my property, you had to physically drive around, knock on the door, pretend you're a renter, and find out the rents.
Wow.
Today, an owner can go online in a matter of minutes or seconds, quickly find out what a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom can rent for. So the internet has made the market much more efficient. Second, the consumer in the old days would grab a magazine at the local 7-Eleven, and that's how they'd go find an apartment. Today, they can quickly Google search and do virtual tours, and so it's much more internet-based over the years. At the end of the day, it's the same concept. You've got a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom unit, and really, other than changing the ceiling heights, the units really haven't changed a lot. But what's changed over the years really is, back when we first were doing renovations, they were white countertops that you'd spray on, white paint, white cabinet faces. And today we've got, the faux wood floors, we got white quartz countertops, we've got deep sinks, we got backsplashes, oak cabinets, and stainless steel appliances. So the quality of finish has changed over the years, and it's gotten, much nicer looking and actually a lot more expensive.
Is it, and maybe it's neither, Is it easier or harder to do what you do today than it was 20 years ago?
It's much more difficult, and I'd say the biggest difference is back in the mid-'90s, late '90s, there wasn't as much capital chasing multifamily or real estate in general.
Makes sense.
And back then, interest rates were higher, so you could put your money in bonds.
Right.
The stock market was doing better. So there, venture capital, there was always some other investment class that offered greater returns in real estate. And what's happened in the past, decade is interest rates have plummeted.
Yes.
And now interest rates are super low. You've got very low rates on bonds. Stock market's been fairly flat. So a lot of factors lead you to real estate offers the best kind of cash-on-cash returns of any other investment vehicle out there. As a result, you've got more people than ever that are in our space, whether it's the big private equity fund, it's the big large public company, a REIT, it could be private owners, it could be syndicators. The competition to buy is much greater.
Okay.
So,
which can tend to drive up the price then,
which drive up the price. Interest rates are an all-time low.
Right.
And so it's a combination of interest rates. Demand is probably the greatest it's ever been. Rents are the highest they've ever been in most markets. So you've really got the perfect storm of higher rents, more capital, lower interest rates, more buyers. And what that really leads to is a much, much higher purchase price and a lot more competition.
Right, and harder for your business model to deliver the kind of returns that you're known for.
We've had to lower our return expectations, and the whole world has lowered their return expectations. So, we're still targeting high teens leverage returns. We've had to lower those down to kind of mid-teens.
Okay.
So,
well, that's still very attractive, isn't it?
If they can be realized, it is.
Well,
that's the big one.
That's the asterisk. Yeah.
Exactly.
If they can be realized,
exactly.
Yes.
So,
your mileage may vary.
Exactly.
Well, this is awesome. This is a bit of a complicated business model, but one that you clearly demonstrate that you know cold, right? And that you guys know what you are. How important has it been for Bascom Group to stay true to what your mission is? Because I would think over the years, 20 years, there have been opportunities to divest and do different things. But, I mean, how important has your ability to stay focused on what you guys know how to do been to your success and long-term ability to stay in business?
I think it's very important to our success, and it really comes down to hiring great people and people that are smarter and more ambitious and work harder than we can do. And so we've tried to hire a lot of younger people. We've had close to 200 interns over the years.
Wow. And
we've got a great internship training program. Many of those work for us now. Many of them are our partners. Many have gone on to become our lenders and equity investors and asset managers.
Competitors.
And competitors too. And many of them competitors too. So,
of course.
But at the end of the day, those young people and their enthusiasm and really, they give us hope and they give us energy when we see them working. And, they remind ourselves what we were like 20 years ago when we were excited, ambitious, and hungry and aggressive to kind of build our net worth. So I think it's hiring great people that are excited and have great integrity, as we mentioned. Second, I think you're always having to reinvent yourself. And, we always pride ourselves on, can we build a better model? Can we do a better job at renovating units? Can we do a better job at lowering expenses? Is continuing to try to find a better way to operate the business. And, third, realizing that our business is very cyclical too, that, there's periods where it's a long upswing, and then there's periods where it's a downturn. And so, right now we're in a long period of growth. So we bottomed out in 2008-9, and
yes.
We're 8-9 years into it, and most cycles only last 7 or 8 years. So at some point we'll enter another down cycle, and we want to get better than we were in the last downturn. So hopefully we'll take advantage of the opportunities.
Final question for the break.
Sure.
How interest rate sensitive is the business?
It's very interest rate sensitive, and that probably is the number one factor to of value. And right now we're in a very low interest rate environment, so it's created.
We think of this as the new normal, right?
New normal, and it may not be.
It may not be.
We don't know.
We don't know yet.
We never know, and,
right.
and so obviously that's the $1 million question: is where interest rates are going. And we tend to, in some ways, ignore the worry about interest rates. Our goal is finding the best deal to buy at the best price.
Okay.
And doing the best we can to renovate and increase value. And our belief is that if we can always add value and get a good deal, markets will come and go, but at least we did the best we can do given the situation. And if the market is strong, that's when you're back. If the market is in a downturn that's kind of like headwinds. So you've got to, again, do what you can do to create value outside a market.
Okay, we're going to take our first and only short break here on Critical Mass Radio Show. For those of you that are listening live or as a podcast or maybe watching us on Facebook or YouTube after it's been recorded, don't go anywhere because this is like literally 30 seconds. When we come back, Jerry, I'm going to ask you to share your core philosophy that you're using to lead and grow Bascom Group, okay?
Great.
So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back after this word from me.
If you are an Orange County business executive, this message is for you. Do you ever feel isolated with no place to turn for advice or feedback? Who holds you accountable to your commitments in your company? Where do you find the right resources to help you and your company grow? If you have these questions, then Critical Mass for Business might be the answer for you. Critical Mass for Business is committed to helping you make better decisions. These are groups of peers running businesses just like you, providing a great sounding board to test ideas and concepts, review plans and goals, and present issues and opportunities for discussion. The result is improved strategy, accountability, people, and execution skills. If you are interested in learning more, go to www.criticalmassforbusiness.com and learn more about our executive peer group.
Welcome back to this edition of Critical Mass Radio Show and Podcast. I am your host, Richard Franzi. You know, a great way to stay informed about our great guests like Jerry is to sign up for our weekly newsletter. Simply go to my company's website, criticalmass4business.com. At the bottom of any page is a join our mailing list box. Simply type your email address, hit subscribe like magic. You'll start receiving our weekly newsletter with information about our upcoming guests. We don't do anything else with your email address other than subscribe to the newsletter, and then we discard it, forget it, never had it. That's all we do. So please, if you like this interview with Jerry, subscribe so you can start getting informed of future guests. Before the break, I said I was going to ask you about your guiding philosophy. Can you share that with our audience, please?
Our guiding philosophy is to hire great people, and we've always tried to hire people that are smarter, better, more ambitious than we are, and give them the tools to succeed. And our belief is our success and growth of the company has been built on recognizing and seeing, people in the industry, especially younger people, that have that passion, knowledge, and integrity to be great employees that will eventually become great partners for our company.
What got you interested in this space?
What got me interested was I was in college studying finance. And when you're in college studying finance, they teach you that the markets are efficient, that they're so well studied that you're not able to kind of outperform the indexes. And I randomly took a real estate class at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is a top real estate school in the country. And the first day of class, the professor said, "This is how you make money. You buy low and sell high." And I thought, that is just incredible. And found it very fascinating that, real estate's a very down and dirty business. And multifamily and apartments, it's the easiest place for the small investor to get started. I got my career started buying, a small home in Santa Ana for $60,000. So it's the one business where you can start small, you can leverage up, you can borrow 70, 75, 80, 90% capital.
Right.
You can scurry up some money from your friends and family and pretty much buy a deal with great leverage and minimal equity contribution. And if you can create value and split the profits, it's kind of, to me, the quickest way to create wealth in this country.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Can we have a gong moment there? That was awesome. The loyal listeners know that whenever they hear the gong, they should go back on the podcast and re-listen to the last 30 seconds or a minute. I think it's teachable moments. That's what I call it here on Critical Mass Radio Show. So do we have the gong? Nope. We do not have the gong. My voice is the gong. There you go. Listen to that, ladies and gentlemen. Let's shift our focus then, Jerry. Why is it important for Bascom Group to focus on long-term continuity? What is it about that philosophy that is important to your culture?
I think it's important to focus on long-term continuity because, someone like me, as you get older, things change. You start from creation of wealth when you're younger to, as you get older, you start focusing on wealth preservation. And as you start focusing on wealth preservation, that might not be the growth that the younger people want to do. So our goal is to have all of our employees participate in the profit sharing. And every employee in our company, we want to make them, a millionaire or more.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because we want them to have that same passion.
How many people?
We've got about 30 people in our holding company.
Okay.
And most of them are high-level professionals, high-level operational and acquisition skill set. We're a strong believer in outsourcing, so we outsource our accounting and HR and legal. And our goal is to have people that, when you look at the volume that we do, it's very high volume per person. So it's very similar to the Blackstone model where, they've got a handful of very smart people that make hopefully a lot of money for the firm.
I see. So have you seen any other opportunities to diversify the kind of work that Bascom Group does? And if so, could you share a little bit about what you're finding?
Sure. Our day job and our bread and butter is multifamily value add reposition work. But over the years, we've found other people, partners, et cetera, that, had a business plan. And we told them, put the plan together. You've got the expertise. We can provide the capital and balance sheet strength to get them started. So we bought American Office Centers out of bankruptcy, which became Premier Business Centers. And,
and what is that?
It's a executive suite company. That's the second largest executive suite company in the world now.
Wow.
Bought that out of bankruptcy. It's a separate staff that is run independently, and it's been a great investment for us. We've got about a dozen other ventures that do apartment development. They do industrial and office value-add reposition work. They do retail. We've now just created a company that provides sponsor capital for entrepreneurs who are partnering with institutional investors.
Wow.
So in each case, it's been the same. We found anywhere from kind of 1 to 2 entrepreneurs that had a unique business plan, had the knowledge, the passion, the energy, the experience. They just needed some capital and balance sheet strength to get them started.
Right. So now you're able to kind of take the next generation of entrepreneurs and get them started.
And grow them. And again, many of them have been our former interns and employees that broke off. And, a lot of times they went to work for a big firm or a big public company, got the experience, and then wanted to go do something more entrepreneurial. And, Dave Kim and I and Derek Chen, we like to find people that kind of look like us 20 years ago.
Okay.
So we tried to finance them. And, for the most part, all the ventures have worked out incredibly well
Wow.
for both sides. So we're pretty happy about that and continue to do more of that work.
Well,
So,
that's awesome.
thank you.
It's great to give back and to keep moving the brand and helping others out.
Sure.
And you're making some money off the deal.
It's a win-win.
That's right. That's important, isn't
Yeah,
it? You always
exactly.
want a
It's the,
win-win.
double bottom line. So
That's exactly. Can I go back to Premier for just a
Sure.
second? It almost sounded like, to me, in a business context, it's not unlike what you did, finding undervalued real estate and kind of renovating it and positioning it. Now, this isn't maybe positioned for sale, but it is taking a distressed asset and improving it, yes?
Exactly. Premier Business Centers, which does executive suites. And right now we've had a huge co-working or
Yes.
sharing of office space, collaborative space. And,
Yes.
the old term was executive suites. Now it's called co-working, and it's basically the same thing. And what's happened is WeWork has been the biggest brand out there, and, they're worth $20 billion. Along with WeWork's success, you've had a lot of smaller people that have opened up 3 to 5 or 10 locations. A lot of them have failed because they don't have the capital that WeWork does. And so Premier Business Centers is actively growing and taking over centers that have failed.
So it's sort of like taking that business philosophy and putting it into a different industry.
It's very same to what we do in the apartments, which is finding a business that's struggling. Maybe it's over leveraged. Maybe they didn't have capital. Maybe the management wasn't focused, and really bringing in new capital. Maybe it's renegotiating the leases with landlords, repositioning the centers, bringing in new management, new marketing, and hopefully repositioning that particular co-working space.
So the next to last question, is Bascom Group benefiting from macroeconomic trends? And if so, can you just briefly give us a sense for what they are and how that's benefiting you?
Yeah, one of the biggest benefits that we've received, obviously, is interest rates have dropped over the past 10 years. So that means cap rates have dropped and values have gone up. But the biggest thing that's happened over the past couple of years right now is it's the baby boomers kids, which are the millennials. They're graduating from high school, they're graduating college, and that's a big demographic boom that's going to occur for the next 4, 5, 7, 8 years, 10 years. And as a result, you've got the biggest wave of potential apartment renters, which
Right,
is
that's what I'm
when you
thinking.
finish high school or
Demand.
college, demand. And so we've got one of the biggest demand drivers occurring that we've ever seen, because again, the baby boomers, their kids are finishing high school, finishing college. The challenge has been the past couple of years, a lot of them finished college but didn't get a job. And so they move back in with, mom or dad. They call them boomerang kids.
Yes.
But at some point, when you're a single person, you want to get your own place and get married and have kids.
The economy's been good. Unemployment's down. They're working now.
Exactly. And so
Right.
the demand for apartments has probably never been greater.
I would think.
And that will continue, we think, over the next 5 to 7 years. Also, what's happened is during the downturn, they didn't build a lot of apartments. And so you've got this thing now where demand is an all-time high, and
Supply's limited.
Supply's limited. There's a few markets they built too much, but
Right. This is
overall, we're in a great window of
Adam Smith stuff here. This is
exactly.
basic
So,
economics.
supply and demand.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So this is you're
great.
doing awesome then.
We hope so.
All right. Well, if someone would like to learn more about Bascom, how do they find you online?
The best thing to do is Google Bascom Group.
Could you spell it?
It's called BASCOMGROUP.com.
What does that stand for, or what?
Bascom Hill was a hill in the middle of the University of Wisconsin campus, and it's where the business school was located. So you would hike up this 45-degree hill, which was a great workout,
Okay.
and the business school was on top of it. And so my two other partners, David Kim and Derek Chen, we all met at the University of Wisconsin in a real estate class and thought, hey, Bascom Group, we're 3 guys from Wisconsin, let's pick the name. And so if you went to school, it's kind of a fondly known name.
All
If you
right.
didn't, people go, where'd that come from? But that's the origin, was the University of Wisconsin-Madison.
Thank you. And again, your website is?
BascomGroup.com.
Well, thanks for being a friend of the program, a part of the critical mass community. I've been looking forward to having you on the show for some time, Jerry. I'm glad we worked it out and you were able to come in today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Rick. It's been a pleasure.
I've enjoyed it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I need to thank a couple other people. First of all, the engineer, Paul Roberts, and our 3 producers, Crystal Nunley, Joan Park, and Haley Stern. If you'd like to follow and connect with me on social media, my Twitter handle is CEO Peer Groups. On LinkedIn and YouTube, I'm Richard Franzi, Franzi. On my Facebook page or website, you can find me at criticalmass4business.com. And until our next show, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.
You have been listening to Critical Mass Radio Show Business Talk Show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Support for this podcast and the following message come from Almond Board of California. Did you know the almond community generates more than 100,000 jobs in California? To grow what you know about almonds, visit almondsustainability.org.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Jack Spear. Hours after a strong magnitude 7.1 earthquake rocked central Mexico, people were still standing in the streets today, afraid to go back indoors. Mexican officials are reporting at least 55 people have died, but it's too soon to know the extent of destruction or loss of life there. In Mexico City, reporter Emily Green says it's a scene of devastation.
I'm in the neighborhood of Condesa. Several buildings have gone down. I am standing about a block away from one that is complete rubble. There are hundreds of helpers, people outside trying to get the rubble off. I see a few policemen, but most of the people there are just volunteers, and they're pulling the rocks off one by one and have formed a line. Apparently, what I'm hearing is that there are about 10 people underneath all of the rocks, and folks here are just hanging out outside. Nobody is going back in the buildings. It was a truly, truly terrifying experience.
Reporter Emily Green, today's quake comes 32 years to the day after another major earthquake in 1985 killed as many as 10,000 people in Mexico. Officials say at least one person has died on the French Caribbean island of Guadeloupe after Hurricane Maria roared ashore as a Category 5 storm. 2 others are believed missing just east of the island. About 40% of the island is without power. There are reports the storm also caused major damage in the islands of Dominica and Martinique. The British Virgin Islands, already damaged by Hurricane Irma, are also in the path of the storm, as is Puerto Rico. President Trump is warning of massive military retaliation if North Korea tries a nuclear strike against the U.S. or its allies. NPR's Scott Horsley reports.
Trump referred derisively to the North Korean leader as Rocket Man, adding Kim Jong-un's nuclear and ballistic missile tests amount to a suicide mission for Kim and his regime.
The United States has great strength and patience, but if it is forced to defend itself or its allies, we will have no choice but to totally destroy North Korea.
Trump said he hopes that won't be necessary, and he urged UN members to do more to isolate North Korea with strictly enforced economic sanctions. Trump also took aim at the governments of Iran and Venezuela. Israel's Prime